Another deadly night in Ukraine's war, and the Black Sea is once again at the center of the storm. The death toll from a Russian missile strike on Ukraine's port city of Odesa has climbed from 7 to 8. At least 30 people are wounded, according to Ukrainian authorities. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky described the situation in Odesa as harsh, accusing Russia of deliberately trying to choke Ukraine's access to the Black Sea, a lifeline for trade and security. Zelensky also signaled accountability at home, saying he is considering replacing the head of Ukraine's Southern Air Command, Dmytro Karpenko, following the strikes on Odesa. Ukraine's Deputy Prime Minister, Oleksiy Kuleba, said Russian forces also targeted the nearby port city of Pivdeny, striking several reservoirs in a separate attack. Ukraine's military says it has struck back. Special forces carried out a drone attack on a Lukoil oil rig in the Caspian Sea, as well as a Russian military patrol ship named Okhotnik. The military added that the Filanovsky oil rig, already hit twice earlier this month, was damaged again in the latest strike. Ukraine also claims it destroyed 2 Russian fighter jets at an airfield in occupied Crimean Peninsula. Meanwhile, Russia's Ministry of Defense says its forces have taken control of 2 villages, Svitle in eastern Donetsk and Vysoke in the northeastern Luhansk region. As missiles, drones, and territory change hands, the battle for Ukraine's ports and control of the Black Sea is intensifying, with no sign of de-escalation. A new diplomatic push is on the table, but Ukraine's president is keeping expectations firmly in check. Volodymyr Zelensky says the United States has proposed a new format for talks with Russia, involving 3-way discussions between national security advisors from Ukraine, Russia, and the U.S. While welcoming Washington's involvement, Zelensky expressed skepticism that the proposal would bring anything new, warning that past talks have delivered limited results. Still, the Ukrainian leader said U.S.-led negotiations remain the most viable path forward. Zelensky said Ukraine would support trilateral talks if they lead to tangible progress, including prisoner of war swaps or preparations for a meeting between national leaders. Zelensky also urged European leaders to move decisively on seizing frozen Russian assets and redirecting them to fund Ukraine's war effort. He said doing so would strengthen Ukraine's leverage at the negotiating table and help sustain the country through a prolonged conflict. According to the International Monetary Fund, Ukraine will require approximately $161 billion in 2026 and 2027 as the ongoing war continues to strain the nation's economy.
The battlefield is shifting, and Moscow says momentum is on its side. The Russian Defense Ministry claims its forces are pressing forward across multiple fronts, as the so-called special military operation enters another decisive phase. In the Sumy region, Russian troops say they have liberated the settlement of Vysokoy, after what they describe as resolute, close-quarters fighting. According to Moscow, Ukrainian units, including Jaeger and territorial defense brigades, suffered heavy losses in nearby villages, as armored vehicles, artillery, and supply depots were struck. To the north, in the Kharkiv direction, Russian forces report sustained pressure on Ukrainian mechanized and motorized infantry brigades. Battles near Staritsa and Volchanskaya Khutora, Moscow claims, left dozens of vehicles destroyed and hundreds of Ukrainian troops killed or wounded. Further east, the Zapad group of forces says it has improved its position along the front line, targeting Ukrainian brigades near Kupiansk and the Donetsk border. Among the systems Moscow says it destroyed, a US-made Paladin artillery unit, electronic warfare stations, and ammunition depots. In Donetsk, the fighting is described as even more intense. The U group of forces, according to the Russian military, pushed into more advantageous positions near Kramatorsk and Konstantinivka, striking mechanized, marine, and National Guard units. Moscow claims counter-fire radars and Western-supplied systems were neutralized. And in one of the day's biggest claims, Russia says that Center Group of Forces liberated Svetla, while continuing operations against what it calls encircled Ukrainian units in Dmitrov. Moscow reports large-scale strikes on multiple brigades, including marine and assault units, with hundreds of Ukrainian casualties. The advance, Russian officials say, did not stop there. In the south, the Vostok Group claims it pushed deeper into Ukrainian defenses in the Dnipropetrovsk and Zaporizhia regions, hitting assault regiments and territorial defense forces. Along the Dnipro axis, Russian forces report strikes on coastal defense brigades near Kherson and Zaporizhia, destroying fuel depots, ammunition stores, and electronic warfare systems. Above the front lines, Moscow says Russian aviation, missiles, artillery, and drones struck more than 150 targets in a single day, including energy facilities, transport hubs, drone launch sites, and locations used by foreign fighters. Russian air defenses, according to the ministry, intercepted HIMARS rockets, a Neptune missile, and more than 100 drones. And then comes the tally. Since the start of the war, the Russian Defense Ministry claims Ukraine has lost hundreds of aircraft and helicopters, tens of thousands of drones, more than 26,000 armored vehicles, and tens of thousands of artillery systems. These figures cannot be independently verified. But one message from Moscow is unmistakable. The fighting is far from over. The fronts remain active.